In meeting with a bunch of people, business owners, they've indicated to me that the school system is not meeting the needs of the workforce. That what's happening is that those students that are graduating and with no intentions of going to college graduate with a piece of paper that's pretty much meaningless in respect to getting a job. And so I kind of want to propose in my platform about bringing back some form of trade schools or skills training at the high school level for students that have no intentions of going to college. And I wanted to see, from your standpoint, what skills you think they would need to provide at the high school level, and if that's even would be beneficial to employers. Along with the program would be an apprenticeship when they're seniors and they've already gained the skills needed in a certain area, and then they could be employed through an apprenticeship during half of their senior year. That way, when they graduated from high school, they would have a certification, but they would also have the skills, not only the skills, but have the experience. And basically what I want to know is if you think that is a viable plan.
I think it's a genius plan, because nobody, like all the kids now, they want to be on computers. Everybody knows that. And you know, there's people out there pushing the STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, math. Well, we need to be teaching the kids how to read a tape measure, how to read just a generic set of blueprints. And then if you teach that, I mean, that sets you up for any kind of trade skill, you know.
But would you be willing to take a student, let's say a 17 or 18-year-old, if your company had been involved in some way setting the plan for the skill development, would you be willing to take them on as an apprentice if the school system was willing to accept the liability?
We would, and we've done it in the past. We've actually have a Haney graduate on staff right now. We also have one that just graduated this year that we had last year that was we started out in HVAC.
To what you said, we think that is an absolute great idea. Not everybody's cut out for college, and we don't have any young employees. I mean, I am my youngest employee, matter of fact. So there is no young generation that actually wants to work or do anything. So if we can get the younger generation in, it'd be better, because there ain't no young workers.
No, it's a dying breed.
It is.
Well, work with your hands. Nobody knows how to work with their hands anymore.
I would hope that if you provided the opportunity for these kids to learn a skill, that would motivate them, number one, to stay in school. If they knew that the second they graduated, that diploma would actually be worth something. Right now, what is it worth? Minimum wage. That's
right.
about it.
That's right.
Would you be willing to take on a 17 or an 18-year-old if the school system provided the liability?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Any day of the week.
I think a ton of people would be willing to do that. I really do.
Yep.
Think of it as like the reverse effect of the ACE program. Well, you set up ACE program for these kids to go off to these Ivy League schools and all that. We'll create a program to where these kids go out and work with their hands, and they're going to make just as much money, if not more.
Colin, what kind of skills do you think a high school can provide for your level of employment?
I think JD nailed it on the head. I mean, really, when you come into our trade from the beginning as a helper, being able to read a tape measure, understand a set of blueprint just from basic layout. You know, we're not trying to get anybody to do any type of engineering right at the tape,
no, I know that.
being able to identify what a symbol is on the drawing, how to read it, how to navigate through a set of plans, and I mean, you can't stress enough how much a tape measure matters in our world from start to finish. So, they're really basic items that need to be done, and then get them out into the field. get their hands on the tools, teach them how to hold a screwdriver and use it. I mean, you'd be amazed at the kids that don't even know what the various tools are.
Giving these kids an elective to go to the shop is a great. That's what I did when I was young, you know. And even if the kid has aspirations of going to college, he can still go learn a portion of a trade that may influence what he does in college if he does.
Do you think that welders would be an occupation that we could pursue also in the high school level, or would that be too dangerous?
I know, you know, for Chris and for our company, you know, welders are highly sought out and paid very well. And if they could get that schooling done for free through the school system at a young age to get some of the knowledge, that would be highly beneficial.
Would you trust an 18-year-old right out of high school?
You got to do it at some point. You got to start training them. I've got a great guy that's in his early 20s that can weld better than some of the older guys. So I don't think the age is an issue as long as they're taught the safety of it and how to operate it correctly.
Do you think that if they started in 9th grade with maybe 2 classes, do 2 classes in 9th, 10th, and 11th, that would be enough time for them to be able to have an apprenticeship by the time they were a senior?
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that's kind of what I was thinking. If they started in the 9th grade or possibly 10th and worked their way up through the senior year for the apprenticeship. Okay. Again, I appreciate your time, and JD, I appreciate you've been a good boy. I'm proud of you. I know y'all are busy making a living, and I appreciate your time. Do you have any other thoughts that you might want to share?
The overall bad stigma relating to construction has got to change, and that's got to change not just from the guy that's teaching the construction trade in the school system, but overall, you know, not going to college and not getting a high-profile job is not the end of the world. Coming in the construction business can provide a great life for people.
Absolutely.
And that part of it has to change. There's a lot of people that won't come into our trade because they don't want to be labeled a plumber, or they don't want to be labeled somebody that's helping out with HVAC. But really, when it gets down to it, you know, how professional it is how you do it as yourself.
The state says that in the next 10 years that 46% of all jobs in Florida will not require a college education. And so that's, you know, if you even think of that as 46% of our kids need to at least have skills. And we want to keep our kids here. You know, when they graduate from high school or when they come back from college, we want them to return so that they'll be close by, but we also want them to be able to earn a good living.